NSW.TV.
Good morning and welcome to day 2 of the Australian Youth Ultimate Championships here in Adelaide, South Australia. It's day 2, it's moving day. Every game is vitally important as we see a rematch of the men's final from last year between New South Wales and Victoria. My name is Max Stenstrom and I'm joined in the booth this morning by Jonathan Warren White. Johnny, tell us a little bit about this matchup between two powerhouse teams in the men's division.
Well, this is the game we've all been waiting for in the pool play. Both teams cruised to 2 quite easy victories yesterday. Watching the two teams, they play different sort of styles and have different tactics. So the New South Wales team looked like they had a strong OD line setup, whereas the Victorians were definitely shifting their players all around, had 2 or 3 set lines, I think. So I'm not too sure if the New South Wales team O-line really got that much of a chance to play yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see if they start strong or maybe start a little flat due to less game time.
That opportunity to get reps, so crucial, especially for these young teams building chemistry still. I know for a lot of teams at this tournament, they haven't had a lot of preparation in terms of practice matches. So for a lot of them, yesterday morning was their first full game as a team against external opposition. We'll see whether it makes a difference now for this offensive line of New South Wales, which takes the field to begin the match. They will play offense, and we'll see exactly whether that rust has been well and truly brushed off this morning. As a rematch of last year's men's final, it'll be interesting to see just how hard they come out of the gates. Chatting to some of the players before this match, I know they were very hyped up, ready to go pedal to the metal from the initial pull. So we'll see how that manifests itself on the field. And that's Ollie Loughnan from Victoria with the pull to initiate the game. It'll be fielded by Eric Lai. And it looks like he'll immediately go crossfield with the inside break to Amutil. Nice grab above his head. He shoots backhand down line. He's got right underneath it. Pack forms. Couple of players. It's over the back and it will be beaten away to the ground by Jeff Lee.
We see straight away New South Wales willing to shoot quickly, get the disc moving fast. They don't want to get stuck on a sideline or stuck and allow this Victorian pressure to build.
Disc walked back up slowly by Loughnan. Loughnan, the captain of this Victorian Bandicoots squad. Nice bid to keep the disc alive. Good hold by James Walker. Move it to the far side now, into the hands of Stevanov. He surveys his options, looks to dump to Prendergrast. Prendergrast upline, in space, doesn't like the immediate shot, swings back near side. Back to Walker. Comes underneath, Prendergrast, nice handler movement, keeps the disc alive, backhand into space. Couple of players underneath it, but Ollie Loughnan saw a lot of him that point. Launching the pull, initiating the play from the static disc, and eventually catching the goal in the end zone. So the captain on this team and a representative on the Australian under-20s team, expect to see him do a lot of work for this Victorian outfit, offensively and defensively. And that's Victoria coming out of the gate strong with a break, going up 1-0.
Victoria, just such clinical, clean offense. They continued to swing the disc a number of times, which just made it so difficult for the New South Wales team to get any sort of defensive pressure on or put a force on properly. And they just walked it in.
While there is a slight breeze this morning, it's nothing compared to what we had yesterday. And you can see a combination of less wind and top-level throwers moving the disc nicely across the back for Victoria. Chatting to Tom Butler, the captain of the New South Wales team, I asked him what's the key to getting ahead on this Victorian outfit. He said hard defense and taking our aggressive deep shots. We saw that deep shot come off from New South Wales early in that match. It didn't connect, but they were clearly very willing to take it. And we'll see whether they can bring a little harder defense next time and slow down the Victorian outfit.
And New South Wales receive the pull. Keys, the main handler here. And it looks like it's a foul call.
Victoria opting for a zone look early in this match despite the low wind. We'll see how the New South Wales handler core can react.
Keys to lie. 2 lies on the field. Sent to the Trang. Ooh, put down by lie. Lachlan is moving slowly to the disc, looking to either isolate Wicks or Flavel in the corner. Flavel, the spirit captain of Victoria, a rookie this year, and supposedly has tremendous communication skills, and why he was voted in by the rest of his team as the spirit captain for this tournament.
He communicates his happiness there with a roar of excitement as Victoria has come out of the gates very strong, and perhaps we're seeing that rust you were talking about on the offensive line of New South Wales. Not able to put one in yet. The 2 different looks from Victoria in terms of playing match in the first point and zone in that second point kept the New South Wales offensive line guessing and not allowed them to get in their stride and get their rhythm on. We have seen a number of lovely break shots from Eric Lai. His inside forehand slicing through the cup, that point, and earlier generating a nice big underneath for Mamutul for New South Wales. We'll see if he continues to provide that technical throwing prowess for New South Wales and how they adjust offensively. What do you think's going wrong so far, Johnny, for New South Wales? Not able to get their offense really clicking.
Well, both turnovers we've seen have been from probably poor execution on throws more than options. The big huck in the first point was actually to someone who was free. It just sat a bit too much. And then that was just a cold drop on the second one. So it's execution problems. Maybe it is that rust we talked about. But we'll see how they cope with this zone now.
This looks like a slightly different zone look from Victoria compared to the previous point. So far, not playing the same defensive option twice. And it's caught New South Wales unawares as a short field turnover will give Victoria the disc next to the brick mark, and it'll be picked up by Damon Prendergast, one of the returners for this Victorian team. And he shoots immediately to the end zone. There's a pack underneath it. It's right on the back line. Can he tow it in? From our perspective here, it looked like Angus Higgins couldn't quite get down his big toe inside the line.
Did really well to try and get his foot back there, though. Good grab and good toe, just unfortunately probably on the line.
And, of course, on the line is out for those playing along at home. John O'Keys, diminutive in stature, but gigantic inability and potential. He is one to watch for the future, and we'll watch him pilot this New South Wales offense a lot today. Expect to see him do a lot of work as Tommy Butler goes over the top with the scuba, another key player on this team. Finds Feng on the near side, fakes the big one, instead opts to go small ball to Butler. Keys goes horizontal but can't hold on. Butler asking a lot of him with that scuba out in front. And another relatively short field turn. And again, Damon Prendergast picks up the disc, centers to Walker, moves immediately but doesn't opt for it. Stevanov provides the under, but it won't be thrown. Yes, it will. Walker demands the disc back on the front corner of the end zone now. Goes fat side, backhand across the field. And it looked like a bit of miscommunication as Boy opted not to catch it, thinking there was an open player behind him for the goal. New South Wales. Again, handler movement. Butler gesturing to the end zone, saying he wants the shot. Floaty one to the far side, retrieved well by Lai. Finds Noel in the middle of the field. He goes deep. He's got a couple of players in the region. Feng was there, but Prendergast snatches it away. And Victoria off to the races, trying to move it quickly, not letting New South Wales an opportunity to set up their defence. Noel, defense working hard, and there's an opportunity.
Oh,
Tom Russell can't quite get the hand on to secure that defense, but is rewarded in the following pass. As the zone forms, Keys with the disc.
so it's a very loose wall right at the front from Victoria. They're just kind of stopping all passes short to open and break, and trying to force New South Wales to put big shots over the top.
We saw there Tom Butler's throw through the wall, find the grass. Stevanov doing a lot of work in that initiating cutter roll as Walker fumbles that one. Cold drop, not what you want. As you look to stamp your authority on this match, as Victoria does now. Butler gestures again, launches a missile of a forehand down the line. Feng's in pursuit, but it will be too far. Tommy Butler, the captain of this team, playing this season with Colony Pillage, bringing that experience of Division 1 ultimate to the youth scene. He played there as a cutter, but on this team he'll do whatever the team needs of him, as he brings both disc handling skills and downfield capabilities. Walker with the disc, finds Stevanov up line.
No one really guarding Stevanov.
Fakes the hammer and sells Noel completely. Big bid from Butler into the back of Prendergast, who'll play through the contact. Butler's fired up, going crazy on the mark. Arms going left, right, and center. Feng on the mark, can't contain the swing pass. As Lee finds Walker with the little dish. Not a lot opening up for him downfield. Has to fire and finds his man in plenty of space. The intensity's high as Jeff Lee secures the third on the trot for Victoria as they race out to a 3-0 lead. New South Wales have no answers so far. Simple errors and execution mistakes leading to a lot of turnovers. A number of times we see there a nice bid from Victoria, but the pass was behind the intended receiver. A couple of other turfed throws, giving the disc away cheaply, really. And we see a timeout call from New South Wales as they look to halt Victoria's momentum.
I think that's a good timeout call from the New South Wales boys. We this Victorian pressure, this defence is definitely designed around forcing teams to take risky options. What New South Wales have actually been able to do a number of times is get through the initial pressure, but then because they felt rushed, they've put up a big shot. I'm sure what their coaches are there telling them now to do is once you get through and past that cup or that wall that is set, take an extra second, make the easy pass and keep swinging the disc, and then you should be able to just put it right through.
They definitely have the disc handling skills to do just that. Keys and Butler and Lai at the back looking very comfortable with the disc in their hands, have an array of different throws in their toolbox.
Yeah, the overhead passes they were throwing, a couple of scubas and a couple of hammers. Now that the wind's died off, that should become a real weapon against this wall. Maybe even take a longer point, grind out a point as New South Wales, just continue to swing that disc over and over and over again, tire that Victorian wall out for a couple of points. See how it goes once you've thrown 10 passes. It might create even more holes for you to go through.
Speaking of tiring out your players, though, New South Wales sticking with their offensive line out here. Many of the same faces still on the field. John O'Keys and Tom Butler in particular, and Eric Lai all remain on the field. And they'll have plenty of work to do if they are to dig themselves out of this hole. Offense, definitely one of the most mentally demanding aspects of the sport, especially in a situation such as this where you've been broken 3 times on the trot and you have to coolly and calmly punch the next one in as if it was 0-all.
Yeah, as an O player myself, I know at this point, this is where the nerves start really kicking in. You feel like you have to score. You're letting the team down if you're not scoring. You can see your D-line getting edgy on the sideline. And so the rush of blood is quite big here, and it's where the big runs come for the other D's line. Okay, big pull. And lands in. Keys picks it up. Centers to Butler. Keys again. Back to Butler. Victoria's come out in a more traditional pommy look now. New South Wales just rolling with the 2 handlers. Keys has it now. Puts Butler on the sideline. Butler with a lovely hammer across to Varela. Goes down the line. Quick movement. Ryan with the disc now. It looks like there was a call made, a travel on Richard Lai. Goes across to Keys, to Butler. Back to Keys. Back to Butler. Wants to swing to Lai. And Lai takes a... Oh, and a magnificent grab. I believe it's Kobe Ryan. No, Anthony Donahue. Oh, but out of bounds.
It's a nice grab above his head, under pressure as well, but just not able to keep the back foot in field.
Yeah. Oliver Lockman walks the disc up for Victoria. Puts up the long shot. It doesn't look like it's ever coming in.
That could well be a turnover almost where he threw it from if it went out and didn't come back.
The game advisor is signalling it's at the corner. And we see New South Wales have pushed themselves all the way to the other side of the field here. They're clearly looking to isolate one player. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Keys as a dump. Oh, and it sneaks through. And Sebastian Varela, not the intended target, but heads up play, knew it was there and went and got it. New South Wales stopped the rot.
And that's 3-1. New South Wales get some chalk on the board, but still plenty of work to be done, as you saw them get maybe just a little bit lucky there, as Butler's pass to Noel went a little wide, but Varela was there to clean it up.
And that shot we just saw on replay by Lai, I just felt it was too rushed. They were moving this cup around. They had just made a big swing. The cup was struggling to get there, and he just decided to put up a speculator into the end zone. I think once the cup gets to him, that's the perfect opportunity. Swing back to Butler, go back across the field, and something will open up too easy for you.
I understand the temptation when you've got big-time receivers like Anthony Donahue clearly is, but there's just no need to take that kind of risk when they're able to swing and reset and change the angle of attack as easily as they have been so far.
Now we get to see Victoria's offense and New South Wales D-line.
I know that this defensive, the defensive tools of this New South Wales team are many and varied. I even heard the New South Wales coaches before this game talking about whether it was worth pulling out all the tricks in this game or whether it was better to keep one eye on the knockout stages, the medal matches in this tournament, and save something as a surprise. We'll see what they opt for now, recognising they're in a bit of a hole. It's Damon Prendergast with the disc. As New South Wales opting for match early on, keeping it simple. And Stevanov shoots to the end zone, showing his versatility. Butler gets there, but It's recovered on the second effort by Angus Higgins.
That is so unfortunate for Butler. Big piece of the disc.
Did everything he could other than catch his Ds. If that's not a lesson for you at home, I don't know what is. As Cooper Stevanov shows the threat of a primary cutter that also has throwing abilities as he shoots low with the forehand. Butler gets up well, but unfortunately backs it on straight into the path of Angus Higgins, who doesn't need to be asked twice whether he wants to catch a goal. Despite the Victorians managing to get another one on the board there, as a New South Wales defensive unit, you've got to be happy with that. They had a huge sniff, a real big bite of the cherry, and while they didn't get the disc in the end, you'd feel 9 times out of 10 that's theirs.
Tom Butler again on the field.
Not sure if he's taken the sub yet.
We'll see how that continues throughout the game. Keys receives the pull, centres to Butler. Butler to Mamutil. To Butler. Kind of a loose match here. Mamutil to Ryan. And New South Wales are through to Keys. Ooh, great rundown by Trang. Taps it in. Been watching a little bit too much American Frisbee, but beautiful goal to Donahue, showing you can go up and down to get the disc.
We saw just a moment of indecision, I think, by Angus Wicks on the Victorian defensive line. Caught halfway in between. As we see it again here, Keys throws that shot. It sits out in front. And I feel if Wicks had been decisive in going into that disc, he may have been able to get a D. But in the end, lie.
Wicks will definitely learn from that, though. I think if we see that play again, he'll back himself to go get that D. Thunder boy. That's what he's there for.
As is so often the case with these tight matches, it's the players that can learn and adapt through the game that are the ones that end up on the victorious end of the result. New South Wales having to do a lot of adaptation in this game, with Victoria pulling out a number of different defences. We've seen there a very loose transition look. Earlier we saw a traditional pommy zone, quite an aggressive zone look. We've seen a 3-man arrowhead-esque formation earlier as well. We've seen a lot of different defensive looks from Victoria, not allowing New South Wales to get into their groove. And again, Tommy Butler leads this New South Wales defensive line as they pull out a zone, swatted away emphatically by Eric Lai. Apologies, that was Richard Train with a D. Does well. Butler finds Noel underneath. Immediately back to Butler up line. That's a nice pass. He's on the doorstep. Is it a goal? There'll be a bit of discussion. Stevanov walks off immediately feeling like it may have been. Bit of a chat. It's a goal. That give-go movement from Butler to Noel and straight back. Deadly.
It's a beautiful little dishy pass from Noel. No hesitation, very quickly, perfectly placed out in front of Butler so he could just walk right onto it.
And that's a break back from New South Wales. They respond. Many teams would let their heads drop after going down 3-0 in a game like this. But New South Wales show their resilience. And they've managed to pull it back within one. Get a break back. Still plenty of work to be done. But they're showing they're up to that task.
So hard to tell with those jumping in if it's really a goal or not. often caught before they jump. I know Ulti TV members Rex Johnson and Mike Palmer spent a big night going through a lot of footage to determine, and they feel that every time you should call it out.
Every time.
80% or something they said that's caught before they
leave
the ground on their extensive research.
Well, we have the data to back it up, so that's a empirical scientific claim. 80% of girls that have jumped in aren't actually in. They catch it before they leave the ground. But of course, in Ultimate, in Spirit of the Game land, what the players decide on the field is what stands. As we saw there, they agreed in the end that was a goal. Richard Trang getting a nice D that point. He's just one of a few players who've learnt their frisbee at Fort Street High School in inner city Sydney. Mike Neild, the great Australian frisbee player, a teacher at that school for a period of time, introducing a number of the young lads to the sport. And they're clearly excelling. Speaking to Richard earlier, he was telling me how he tried out for this team last year and didn't make the cut. He said he had high hopes going in, but once he got to the selections, he realised the calibre of the team that was likely to be picked, and knew pretty quickly that he wasn't going to make it, but didn't let that get him down. He trained hard, went away, found an opportunity to play. He said there wasn't a lot of Ultimate happening in his area, and he reached out to Sydney Uni Ultimate, despite being a high schooler. Asked if he could come along, and they've welcomed him with open arms, and you can see the improvement and the role that he's playing on this team, getting a nice block there, and he's been useful with the disc in hand as well. And Victoria now will play some offense as Tom Butler's pull lands just inside the field.
Prendergast picks it up. New South Wales with his own look now. Ooh, and just couldn't keep it in. And all of a sudden we have a game on our hands.
It's really heated up. New South Wales are slow out of the gate, but now they've got up to speed. It feels very back and forth, very tight.
We saw the same thing with the New South Wales girls yesterday. Maybe it's a New South Wales syndrome. Slow out of the gate, but come home strong.
Butler wastes no time.
Oh, and just slides right over the back for Edmund Feng. Just watched it right into his hands. Great goal.
Very nicely done. Cool as behind the pack there. Read it very well, Edmund Feng. Coming into this game, he said he was a bit nervous. Backing up, he was a returner on this team, I believe. Played against Victoria in the final last year where Victoria came out on top, and he said he felt nervous coming back this time, but showed no sign of those nerves there. He was very cool under that blading backhand from Butler. Edmund, another Fort Street product, and his athletic abilities have been recognised through his selection on the Australian Under-20 men's team Thunder, competing in Waterloo, Canada in just a few weeks now. So do support him and his team over there, and the women's team Terra, as they represent Australia on the international stage.
Keep an eye out for number 23 from Victoria, Lachlan Arnell. Second sport he's represented Victoria in, has represented Victoria in hockey as well. So see what sort of athletic ability he brings to the field.
Clearly an experienced sportsman. We often see that athletes come from other sports across to Ultimate and they never look back, as David Prendergast, ice cold drop 2 metres out from the end zone. And immediately New South Wales look to get it moving quickly as Thomas Russell runs to the disc, picks it up, finds Treng. A metre outside the end zone. Very chaotic. A lot of players in a very small amount of space. And Edmund Feng,
an excellent grab.
Out of nowhere, that looked like a D for all money. Simply superb. And Varela jumps over the top of Tom Butler to celebrate. Apologies, Donahue jumps over Tom Butler. See here as Trang sees the chaos in front of him, goes over the top, and Feng, out of nowhere, you feel like Nevada Thatcher from Victoria felt like he had that. But Feng, too quick, too aggressive, and secures that one with two hands. despite the pressure. And New South Wales, they're back within one. Sorry, apologies, within one, indeed. See where they continue this momentum roll, having got a couple of breaks now in a row and taken the lead for the first time this match. It was the New South Wales D-line that had all the work to do early on in this game, and now the ball is back in the Victorian court.
Walker. Lochnan stuck with the disc here. Goes back to Walker. Back to Lochnan. Has a big shot up. Good box out by Angus Higgins. Makes a dump to Walker. Puts it in. Very nice. In front of a fully horizontal Butler. That was a score by Corbin Forsyth, first-year player. Told me that's his favourite hat. I told him I've always been a fan of the people who rock the Legionnaires out at a Frisbee tournament.
Sun safety is very important. I'm glad to see that he's taking it seriously despite the overcast conditions here at Adelaide. I'm still not sure if Tom Butler's left the field at any point this game. We'll see how long he stays out there and whether he can continue to do so.
He's taking a knee now.
Interestingly, choosing to rest him for an offensive point. Clearly have confidence in their throwing and cutting ranks without him. With the likes of Keys and Lai behind the disc, I'm not surprised. Both all very capable throwers.
I also like the look of Mamutil, who seems to get to the right spaces at all the right times.
Damon Prendergrass set to pull. Big backhand. May just sail out, but Keys takes it quickly, looking to get it moving in this zone, but can't as the cup closes around him. Mamutil swings it wide to Lai. Upfield to his twin brother. Ryan launches a forehand straight into the path of Prendergrast. Not the greatest throw as it turned over and fell short. Loughnane sends it back the other way. Return to sender, he says. It'll float. Pack underneath it. Can French get there? No, he can't. Kobe Ryan in the end with the D, and Johnny Keys gets it moving quickly. Hoping to not let this cup set. Keys returns fire, and Prendergrast again plucks that one out. Both teams very happy to shoot. And Loughnane fakes one again, but cooler heads prevail perhaps as he swings to Flavelle. Move it to the far side. Keys almost cuts that one out. Bit of contact on Loughnane. Flavelle again with the disc. Looks like New South Wales opting for a force middle here, trying to create a little bit of chaos, confuse the opposition, clog up their cutting lanes. Loughnane a couple of metres out, finds Flavelle wide open at the front of the end zone. As is often the risk with force middle, it can confuse the opposition, but it confuses the defence as well sometimes. We saw possibly a misaligned force for a moment there, allowing a break shot down the side that set up Loughnane into a powerful position to throw the goal.
Often a defence that you transition out of when you get close to the end zone. It's very hard to hold that close to the end zone, it's much easier to hold a one-way force. I think New South Wales probably should have transitioned as soon as it hit that sideline. Should have gone straight into a backhand force and held it.
Pinned them on that line.
Both teams kind of falling out of their clean offensive rhythm in that point. A couple of big speculative throws to big receivers. Hoped they'd pull them down, but both times they were double teamed.
Clearly, when one team saw the other team hucking, it reminded them that they could do that too. And it became a bit of, watch this, see how far I can throw the disc. Neither team able to connect with those long shots, but the aggression definitely not lacking from either side.
Big pull from Angus Wicks. Keys. Oh, and it's an offside call.
And the disc will go back and they'll re-pull.
So for those watching at home, New South Wales have called an offside on Victoria. All players from the Victorian team must be behind the line when the disc is released. And all offensive players must have a foot on the line when the disc is released.
The first time an offside is called, it's a re-pull. The second time, it's an offensive brick for the other team. So the stakes are high, but they get it right. But the pull will sail out of bounds, and that's a brick.
Butler walks to pick it up, decides he doesn't want any piece of it. Says, Keys, it's all yours.
Jono Keys, without a doubt, one of the premier throwers at this tournament.
Victoria back to looks like a standard pommy. 4-man cup. Butler crashes through. Keys throws a big hammer up.
And pretty much perfectly picks out the spot in the middle of the field with the most space around it and no players.
Wicks, big shot up to Stevenson. Oh, and a magnificent grab.
Cooper Stevanov, cool under pressure. Huge shot from Walker. Apologies, Wicks.
Not entirely certain what he was throwing at there when he first threw it, but obviously saw Stevanov back there, no one on him. Just decided, I've got a big tall guy back there, throw it up high and hope for the best.
And Cooper Stevanov delivers the big highlight play. Nice grab. They do say on the end of every great grab is an awful throw, and while I wouldn't say that was awful, it was definitely a little more hang time than Wicks would have liked, but Stevanov does well.
I did like little Wicks's classic handler move of the point followed by the throw. Go there, that's where it's going.
Indeed, it's a bit of a case of build it and they will come, throw it and they will run. Puts it down the other field and puts it down the other end of the field and lets his receivers do the work of getting there. And Cooper Stevanov does a great job that time. Shows why he's been Victoria's #1 cutting option for most of this tournament. Loughnan with the pull. That may slide out the far side. Just getting the wrong edge on that disc, inside out, whereas outside in would have kept it curling back into the field. And Victoria look like they'll stick to this pommy defense, this 4-cup setup. Puts lots of pressure on the handlers. But in order to do that, the space behind is often quite free, and if the disc can find its way through the cup or over the cup, Often the offense is able to keep it moving quickly. Feng shoots to the end zone despite a massive height disadvantage. And Damien Feng, superb, sublime, takes flight above the taller defender. My oh my, Corbin Forsyth could do nothing as Feng climbed the ladder and snatched that one from above him. Damien Feng gives up 4, 5 or 6 inches. And look at that superb display of athleticism. Gets in the elevator, presses top floor, goes up the tower and pulls down the goal for New South Wales. Huge left-handed grab. Damien Feng leaves James French in disbelief. Damien Feng, who is that man, ladies and gentlemen? If you don't know who he is, now you do.
Dan Rule doing the cam work. Impressed.
Damien Feng, another Fort Street product, learnt his frisbee from Mike Neild, and he clearly learnt some of his aerial abilities as well. Mike would be proud with that one. Known for his aerial dominance, and Damien Feng learnt from the best and clearly learnt well. Because that's a grab that we'll be replaying over and over and over, not just today, not just this weekend, but for weeks to come. And Feng will stay on the field. He's hyped up. Look for another big play from him.
Almost identical pull that Victoria threw. Didn't learn from the mistakes of shape of the disc.
Possibly an identical looking zone as well, as New South Wales opt for the Pommy.
Prendergast walks it up. Happy to swing it to Walker straight away. Walker back to Prendergast. And back to Walker. Through the middle of the field to Stevanov. Back to Walker. Walker with a high release flick. Very nice throw. Breaks a cup through. Prendergast gets it. Oh, and Feng fell over. And a lovely, lovely shot from Prendergast to Lochnan for the goal.
Outside in forehand to the fat side of the field. That's a great looking throw. Feng slipped, but even so, it would have been very difficult for him to get in that contest. And the big swing setting up the movement up that far side, putting Prendergast in power position. The big outside in forehand. And Lochnan, safe hands underneath it. And that's half for Victoria. They've jumped out to 8-6. It's been back and forth, a game of momentum shifts. Both teams having some highlight moments. We see on your screens the New South Wales coaching lineup of Angus McDonald, Nicholas Lowley and Iris Firat. What do you think they're saying to each other at the moment, Johnny?
Well, I think they'd be happy with how their team got themselves out of that beginning hole that they dug themselves into. They were able to force its way back and get the lead back at one point, but then probably just disappointed in the last few points where they just kind of started to take some riskier shots again, and then so they turned it, and Victoria all of a sudden were able to capitalise on it. New South Wales have definitely looked the best when they've kept the disc moving sideways and then forwards, rather than just always looking to go straight through the field.
Those handlers at the back doing a great job, as you say, of moving it sideways. And we'd like to see them connect that sideways movement into the downfield movement, as opposed to just going direct down the centre.
One thing that is hurting them against the Victorian zone is that they are mainly sitting just Butler and Keys back, so they don't have that third handler to get the big swing off to. I'd like for them to bring someone up into that space so that they can then go through the middle after a swing. Try and beat that cup to them.
Keys and Butler obviously doing a whole lot of work for New South Wales at the back. Butler barely taking a point off. And he's done a great job for them behind the disc. We saw him get a big defensive hand onto a long shot. He wasn't able to successfully put it to ground, but he's clearly a threat downfield as well.
This game, though, is producing some big highlights that we knew would come. If you've just joined us, maybe rewind the tape 10 minutes or so to see probably the best grab I've seen so far of this tournament.
It's the best grab I've seen in many months of Ultimate Frisbee. Damien Feng just absolutely elevated over the far taller James French. Left-handed, he was out of position. French had boxed him out well, and I just don't even have words to describe that play. It's incomprehensible just how high he got and how much of a height disadvantage he overcame to get that disc.
Yeah.
When the throw went up, I was shaking my head. I thought it was an awful option. You know, it was a bad height mismatch, not the kind of contest you want to throw to. It wasn't a good-looking jump ball, maybe, where you backed your taller receiver. But Damien Feng made the play.
Yeah, not too often you think of a good option as huck to the other team's deep receiver to your shorter player.
No.
But that's why we're not the coaches of the New South Wales team.
They clearly knew something that we didn't, and that was that Damien Feng is just a superstar athlete capable of elevating like no one else that I've seen before. We'll see how that highlight moment impacts New South Wales in the second half of this match. And as we prepare for the second half, it should be a good match as Victoria and New South Wales continue to duke it out in a rematch of last year's finals.
Is there anything you think Victoria need to do on top of what they're doing now? Anything they can clean up?
There have been some execution errors. Both teams guilty of that. We saw David Prendergast with a nice cold drop a couple of metres out from his own end zone early in that game from a hammer cross field. Obviously that kind of stuff, it's difficult to control for. Structurally, there's no problem, and as a coach, it's one of the most difficult things to iron out of one of your players' games. It's purely a focus and mental thing. And we'll see whether they can just fine-tune that a touch. Seen a couple of throws sit up maybe slightly longer than they would have liked and not quite be as accurate as they needed to be, creating contests out of what should have been easy passes. But to some extent, that's just a function of this age group. It's high octane, high risk, high reward, fireworks all game long, and that's why we love it. And Victoria will commence the second half on offense. And New South Wales, after having pulled out a number of different zone looks, go back to the tried and tested, reliable match D. Big backhand. Falls short of intended where it was meant to be, but Feng can't get there. And Victoria now with the disc. Loughnan, backhand, finds an open French in the end zone, despite a beating Mamutul across the front.
Tom Butler also must have been inches from that disc on that layout.
Loughnan threading the needle. Does well, and Victoria prepare the setup. The bowling ball, it's a strike. And to some extent, French redeems himself as he gets that goal after the posterization from Damien Feng earlier. This is that fat side forehand from earlier. Prendergast to Loughnan. Teammates on the Australian under-20s team showing their chemistry and their connection. We saw that point. New South Wales defence not really able to slow Victoria down much. Though there was a high-risk deep shot that you may consider Victoria slightly lucky to have reeled in and maintained possession after.
Okay, Prendergast ready to pull for Victoria. All nicely onside this time. Butler walks, picks it up, centres to Keys. Had the swing option, chose not to take it. Goes back to Butler, who goes back to Keys down the line. Keys shoots across. Oh, the pressure by Stevanov just worries Sebastian Varela out of it. Prendergast picks it up. Dumps to Walker. Automatic swing to Prendergast. To Stevanov. Those long limbs reels it in. Looking at Walker as his dump. Oh, can't hit it. Butler wants someone to put it for him. No, it'll be a slow walk now for Keys.
And Victoria set up an arrowhead at the front. I think 3 men putting pressure around the disc.
Butler to Keys. To Butler. Very quick to Mamutil. Very quick to Lai. Unfortunately put out the back.
A few too many wheatbacks this morning, I think, for Eric Lai. Varela was open, but that throw...
This defence from Victoria is the one in particular that New South Wales need to drag another handler back. It's too easy to lock down on the two, Butler and Keys, with this sort of defence. Prendergast walks it up. Butler, very nice on the mark. Goes to Walker. To Prendergast. Swings across, just out of the reach of Stevanov. Keys picks the disc up. Swings to Butler, across to Mamutil. Straight back to Butler. Back to Mamutil. This is nice from New South Wales, just keeping the disc alive, tiring the cup out. Ooh, risky show to Keys. Back to Butler. Ooh, takes the scuba across to Lai. Back to Keys. Backwards to Butler. Keys with the disc. High release to Butler.
Victorian bodies flying
back to
all
Keys.
over the place here.
And this is fine from New South Wales. Just keep the disc alive. Keep the Victorian team running. Across to Mamutil. Back to Keys.
Definitely the most mature offense we've seen from New South Wales so far.
Dumped across to Butler. Puts the big flick up to Ryan. Oh, he then takes the risky shot.
After all that good patient work, they throw it away.
Prendergast and Lochnan move it up slowly. And Butler gets it back. Victoria now in a match. Mamutil to Butler. Back to Mamutil. Back to Keys. Keys being absolutely violated on the mark, basically.
Lots of physical attention being given.
And lovely work by Keys, who gets it to Varela for the goal.
We saw very mature, patient offense from New South Wales that point. Very willing to dump and swing and wait till the gaps opened up, earn their space, earn their field position. Really well done.
We can now see a chat between Keys and Jimmy Vu from Victoria. Just talking about that mark. Vu was very aggressive, definitely within disc space of Keys, but Keys didn't do the right thing either. Keys was meant to have called a disc space on that violation on that, but instead just pushed Vu off him, which is not allowed either. Good to see the two players though have a discussion about what went wrong, and hopefully we won't see that again.
Those conversations and the spirit of game that underpins them, I think, is one of the aspects that makes this game just so special, in terms of no matter how competitive and how fiery it can get on the field, respect is always maintained for each other, for your own team, and for the game itself. It's great to see those two discuss what may have been a little bit of a heated moment on the field, bit of physical attention, bit of bump and grind on the mark, followed by some retaliation from Keys. But they'll talk about it, sort it out, and hopefully we won't see too much more of it again. Now, I do want to talk about Tom Butler and his huge amount of playing time this game. It's interesting to see New South Wales really shorten up their rotations in some way, letting Butler or getting Butler to play so many points. It's interesting that they're selling out, so to speak, for this pool match, which in some ways may not have a direct impact on what happens later in the game, as Loughnan shoots long, French underneath it. Big man in the region, but instead over the back to Eric Trang. Got a bit of a discussion about whether Eric Trang can bring it up or not.
I think he stopped because he thought a foul was called. So I think really he should be able to bring it up in that case. He didn't stop to set a pivot foot. He wasn't looking to throw to anyone. He was just stopping his movement.
We'll see the replay. Ollie Loughnan sees French in the region. Obviously, Thomas Russell was there playing defense, but in the end it floats over the back and Trang gets it. And you can see on that replay, Trang immediately starts moving to the front of the end zone and only hesitated because of the foul, or the possible foul call.
Looks like a game advisor is being brought in.
Steve Baker, the chief game advisor, here this weekend. Very experienced. Has officiated many, many games and does a great job. We're grateful for both him and his whole team's efforts this weekend. Playing an especially crucial role in these younger age groups, in their educative capacity, teaching a lot of these players who aren't quite as experienced the nuances of some of these more particular rules. And in the end, it is resolved. Richard Trang will get to bring the disc to the front of the field and play will restart. But immediate turnover.
Immediate turnover.
The pass
After all
to
that
Butler
time.
too wide. Loughnan picks it up. He's on the line. Fakes the backhand around. Has to dump to Wicks. Wicks, big jump. Still not in. Centimetres though. Blady forehand. Players in the region. But Ryan Samuel can't reel that one in. It's a very risky choice, that forehand blade. New South Wales get it back. And Butler brings it in. Speaking to Butler before the game, I said, what's different between this New South Wales Victorian matchup compared to last year's one where Victoria got the better of you? And he said, I'm back, I'm better, and I'm bigger. So we'll see whether that's true as Edmund Feng finds a nice long one, gains plenty of metres. And he looks to Butler for the dump. He gets there despite slipping on the chewed up grass. Big forehand to the fat side. He's got players in the vicinity, but there's defenders. Big swat.
Huge. Huge D by Nevada Thatcher.
Swats that one out of the deck. Tom Butler's fat side forehand not able to connect. More vertical stack from the Victorians. Still seen very little horizontal offense from a lot of these teams, which I find interesting. I'm a big fan of horizontal myself. And Wicks shoots for Loughnan, but Loughnan can't catch it. And Butler will pick up. New South Wales, not a lot of cuts coming from downfield. Butler shoots back as Feng hustles. Prendergast in the vicinity. And Feng goes up and pulls that one down, reads it well. High release forehand into the end zone. Does he get there? Yes, he does. And Bradley Howard. Haven't said his name many times this game, but he shows up when his team needs him to secure that high release forehand. Bit of a rush of blood to the head for Edmund Feng. But comes away with the goal. Edmund and Damien Feng both showing their ability to rise above the pack. And that high release forehand, I think the intended receiver was Hugo Jeffrey. But in the end, it's Bradley that pulls it down.
Tom Butler, the last few points, showing no aversion to just putting it deep into whoever's down there.
As we see on the camera, a couple of New South Wales boys putting their fist out in front. Often used as a technique to explain to their coach whether they've had their position called for that upcoming point. Just to assist with Angus McDonald and Nick Lely's line calling duties. Both of them having played for the Australian under-20 team in Poland 2016. And Angus McDonald also pulling on the green and gold in Perth earlier this year as part of the Australian under-24 Blue Bottles team that went all the way to the bronze medal match. Don't want to sell their third co-coach short. Iris Firat, also Australian representative. Very capable players, very experienced.
James Walker with a diss now. Back to Angus Wicks with a bit of attention from Feng. Back to Walker. Victoria really trapped on this sideline here. Can't seem to get out of there. Walker with a nice break to Stevanov. Throws a continuing break to Angus Wicks. Again with some attention from Feng. Walker gets the disc back. Goes to Angus Wicks. Throws to Prendergast. It's a competition.
Feng!
Feng again! Just showing his athletic ability.
Human highlight reel. The man's had a scorcher. And you can see why Angus McDonald keeps putting him on the field with plays like that. Defensively and offensively showing his versatility. John O'Keefe will go fetch the disc and restart play for New South Wales.
Oh, great pickup from Feng. That high release flick again. This time Wicks is there for it. Prendergast to Walker. Walker shoots. It's a big pack grab. Oh, and a diving layout by Stevanov.
For me, this game, I think, obviously Damien Feng's been making highlight plays all over the place, but Cooper Stevanov, bit of an unknown. You know, he hasn't had that recognition of playing with an Australian team or a rep team on that kind of level before, but really just doing a huge amount of work in the cutting space with Victoria, both underneath and heading deep. He's been their go-to option so often in a pressure release valve, and you saw his class. They're able to recover from the misread and the big pack grab where the disc sailed over the top.
I was talking to him earlier just before the game started, and he said he's primarily played as a deep receiver, but in this team he's being asked to play further up the field a little bit, and he's definitely stamping himself as a future kind of mid-utility type that Australia are known for producing.
Indeed, he has that ability to get open reliably downfield, and we even saw him demonstrate his throwing ability earlier with a nice mid-range forehand. And when players can both go deep or come under and throw the long shot, really becomes a case of pick your poison from a defensive perspective. So difficult to slow down and contain the damage that they'll cause. He is also rocking the cornrows. It's a interesting hairstyle choice, but I'm not sure we can blame him too much for that when he's been putting out on-field performances of the caliber that we're seeing today.
An interesting choice as well, the cornrows, but with the backwards hat over the top. Maybe doesn't want to see him on camera.
Can't blame him really, but you know, that's his choice. And Butler and Keys reunite at the backfield for New South Wales. Butler breaks the mark nicely. Finds Mamutil. Comes near side to Ryan. Ryan forehand down line to Noel, who can't hold on. And New South Wales playing match defense as Prendergast finds Loughnan up line. Both of these two doing a mountain of work behind the disc. And while Victoria don't have set lines, you'd feel that these two form the core offensive threat on this team. As Butler looks to give go quickly with Keys up this near line, makes some easy meters as the defensive zone forms around Keys. He goes over the top, finds Noel in space. Backhand in front of Feng. Feng's in power position, but he doesn't take that high release shot that he's often want to do. Noel shoots down the line. Can't find his man. Varela not able to get there in time. Flavel initiating movement. But Loughnan, not like what he's seeing downfield, decides to go backwards to Prendergast. Stack it down very deep. But they breach that gap with a shot to Flavel underneath. And we've got a call on the field downfield. Bit of contact in the stack, perhaps?
Yeah, it looked like French and Kobe Ryan just ran into each other. Ryan fell over and they stopped the play at that point.
Ryan, one of the few returners on this New South Wales team. He was here last year.
And I apologise, it was actually Hamish Felder, not James French.
They'll have a bit of a chat and play will resume shortly. Still quite a deep stack for the Victorian lads. As Loughnan working hard to offer a reset, finally gets the disc, marked by Keys. Keys not quite making the cut at the tryouts for the Australian under-20 men, but as is so often the case, playing like a man possessed when he's matched up against one of the players who did, proving that, you know, he can play on that level when he needs to. And that hammer put to ground, unfortunately, by Victoria. Keys doesn't like the shot to Varela, instead goes underneath to Mamutil. Nice backhand through the cup, keeps it moving. Noel goes sideways to Butler. He's the man they want the disc in the hands of, and Keys. And the transition to match defense. Ryan, a couple of meters out now. Has plenty of players streaking to that open cone. Open side under cone, but potentially get in the way of each other. Keys works hard to break the mark. Butler goes back, immediately heads up line. And the throw comes under pressure, in traffic. Tommy Butler, New South Wales get the break. To keep it within one.
Keys was ultra conservative at that point, and I think it's exactly what the New South Wales team needed. Didn't want to take any risky shots, just wanted to give himself the option. And finally found his man.
Bit of a fist pump from Keys as well. Recognising the importance of that goal. As time ticks away, it's just under 10 minutes to play in this match. It's a game to 15, so it's unlikely we'll get to points cap. But when the hooter goes, we'll finish the point that's being played, add one to the highest score, and that will be our new target. Of course, Victoria are in the more dominant position as we speak, leading by one. If they can just hold their offensive points now, they will come away with the victory. But New South Wales have demonstrated time and again their ability to generate defensive turnovers and then to punch the disc in. And look at that line out there, the likes of Keys and Butler to pilot the offense when they get the disc. The likes of Edmund and Damien Feng. They're not related in any way, except in their ability to sky people and take some crazy grabs. It's a high octane line out there with Mamutil and Donahue and Ryan providing the length and the height to cover some of these big Victorian boys. As a coach, Johnny, do you think you'd be running your top stars, the Tom Butlers and John O'Keeses of your team every single point?
Certainly
as much
not.
As New South Wales is?
Certainly not in the pool play. When you know that you're most likely going to be playing this team again, I think this is probably the game that I'd be using. Oh, lovely shot. But I'd be using this game more to just trial lots of different things. As you spoke about earlier in the game, before we started, maybe not show everything. Hold some cards close to your chest. I think your only risk of playing Butler all the time here is tiring him out or injuring him. But we've also got to remember they're all under 18 and don't have all the knocks and sore muscles that we have. They've been playing for a lot longer than them.
It's true. Their ability to just keep going is pretty ridiculous, some of these boys. The format of this competition for the men's is such that following pool play, they'll have semis and then into finals. New South Wales have already locked themselves up a spot in that semi-final, so really the result of this game will only affect who that semi is against. The likely candidates at this point, obviously dependent on other results that are still yet to come, is ACT or WA as their semi-final matchup. Both of whom they've already got the better of. Handily, I should say, in both cases. So they won't be too worried about that semi-final matchup. But of course, maybe they're playing here for the mental edge, the ability to come up against them again later in this tournament and know and have the confidence that they've done it before.
Lovely pull. New South Wales, Keys with the disc to Ryan. Back to Keys. To Ryan. Keys slices through to Mamutil.
This is clinical zone offense.
Hang to Butler. To Mamutil. To Ryan. To Mamutil. Smooth, no problems. Quick, easy passes from New South Wales all the way through.
Yeah, put that back in the bottom drawer of the fridge where it belongs, in the crisper. That was real crisp from New South Wales. No one held the disc for more than a second or two. No one threw a pass more than 8 or 9 metres the whole way.
Another very impressive point by young Keys. Almost flashes of Pete Gardner in the way he plays. High praise, I know, but I've been very impressed with him so far this game.
That is high praise when it comes to the handling stakes. One of Australia's greats in that role behind the disc. For a long time, generally considered to have the best backhand in Australia. And of course, while Keys has work to do before he gets there, his composure and intelligence not far off even at this tender age. And now 11-10 to Victoria. They're still in the driver's seat. New South Wales still need that break. Victoria did a great job. Their last offensive point, putting it in quickly, not allowing defensive pressure to mount, and keeping New South Wales on the back foot. Keys set to pull for New South Wales. This possibly penultimate point. Big backhand, arcing, will be collected by Walker. Finds Prendergast in the centre. Victoria running what looked like some kind of failed runner. Isolation play in the centre. Big backhand into space. Thomas Russell's underneath it. He's the big body, and he puts up the big right hand, but there'll be a call. They'll have a bit of a chat. The WA boys on the sideline not happy with that call, but of course it's the players on the field who get to decide. Big shot from Ollie Loughnan, possibly a little more float than he would have liked. And Russell from New South Wales with the body position in front. But
hard to tell. I think maybe had his left hand on Stevanov. Maybe that's the contact that Stevanov's feeling.
They will have a chat, and of course, Steve Baker able to offer a perspective as the game advisor. And he'll also indicate to us through his hand signals that it is a contested foul, and the throw will go back. To my eyes, it didn't look like a huge amount of contact, though of course Ryan's left hand may be providing just a little too much pressure on Stevanov, a little more attention than he would have liked, and of course it's well within his rights to make that call. Ollie Loughnan probably thankful for another opportunity with the disc.
Oh,
and Stevanov, that one literally bounces off his chest. And Trang finds Noel underneath. But he can't connect to Fang upfield. Speaking to the New South Wales coaches before the game, I said, which of your maybe less established players are you looking to step up this game? And Lucien Noel was one that they mentioned. Unfortunately, not able to do it there.
Loughnan just left by himself.
Not something you can afford with a thrower like that, as he puts that one on a platter for Angus Higgins to reel in. when you give a thrower of the caliber and quality that is Oliver Loughnan that amount of time and space on the disc, he's going to serve up a throw.
It's the second goal in a row that Higgins has scored deep from a very good cut, timed to perfection.
Not a big highlight player, Higgins, but just times his cuts beautifully and doesn't make mistakes. Regulation pancake catch in the end, but its significance cannot be underestimated, as it has placed Victoria now with a 2-point lead as the hooter goes. So we will finish this point, add one to the highest score, and play to that. So it will be either a game to 13 if New South Wales put this one in, or a game to 14 if Victoria can get a break. We'll see what New South Wales have left in the tank.
Prendergast with a big pull. Keys to receive. Centres to Butler. Goes across to Ryan. To Mamutil. Mamutil takes a safe option back to Butler. Across to Keys. To Feng. Fakes the high release, goes the low release flick to Keys. Floaty one across to Butler. It's through to Mamutil, who quickly moves it to Ryan. Back to Feng. Feng back to Butler. Puts a high one up to Ryan. Can't catch it. And Angus Wicks gets the D. Throws his hat off. Down to Prendergast, but stuck on this line now. Back to Wicks, still on the line. Victoria very deep in their stack. Across to Arnell. To Prendergast. Goes across to Wicks.
Bit of a backpack by Mamutil there.
Wicks fakes the big huck. Goes to Arnell again. Bounce off his hands, but Butler gets it. Butler has a target. Oh, had plenty of time. Just needed to wait, holster that throw for a second, and then just put it in the end zone for
Donahue. Not a great throw, really. Far too flat and quick. Probably wanted to just put a bit of touch on it, as you say, floated out in front, because Donahue had acres and acres of space in front of him. Makes a great bid in the end, but not able to get there.
Wicks walks the disc up. Big fat side throw, gets across everyone. Oh, and just interesting choice of throw by Jimmy Vu. Again, just needed to holster for a second. See what other options were going to arrive for him.
Yeah, interesting is maybe a little kind. Not the best. Looked a little rushed as well, which probably didn't help the execution.
Keys down the line to Mamutil, who continues to just provide options, but then a bad throw. Feng, even with his athleticism, can't get to it. Wicks. It's Prendergast by himself out here. Back to Wicks. And Keys closes in on Prendergast now. Oh. Bobble by Thatcher, but he keeps a hold of it. There's a flick. Oh, and Prendergast. It's a down call.
It's very close. Difficult to tell whether he managed to get his fingers underneath the back edge of that frisbee. Maybe we'll be able to see it on this replay. Very close. Was the other edge of the disc on the turf before his hands got underneath the near side? That's the question.
I've always been a fan of if it's in doubt, go with the spectacular play. Give it to him.
Absolutely.
And looks like it did go to him. Wicks now.
Bullets one into the end zone, and that's a goal.
Goal to Arnell.
And that takes it to 13-10. That's another break for Victoria, and it's now game to 14. New South Wales watching on as it slowly appears to slip further and further away. And have called a timeout, in fact. Interesting choice.
Butler and Keys don't recognise. Strolling back to the line.
Clearly this New South Wales team really wanting to win this match, treating it as if it's a must-win game, running their stars a lot of points and calling strategic timeouts when they feel they need them in order to close this one out. Saw a number of players lose their footing that point. The damp conditions in the last couple of days have meant that the turf, very soft underfoot, and a day's worth of play yesterday has chopped it up considerably.
Is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire, 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 fire.
And we're back. It's do or die for New South Wales now. It's a game to 14. Time cap is well behind us. And it's match point for Victoria.
Been a very entertaining game so far. Big plays, some very smooth offense, some big defensive blocks. Hopefully we've got a couple more points left in the game.
New South Wales got all of their usual suspects out there. Donahue, Ryan, both Edmund and Damien Feng, Keys, Butler and Mamutil. This is their offensive seven they go to when they need a hold. And we'll see whether they can deliver. A bricked pool will assist them in that venture. And Victoria continuing to play a junky look, I think. Keys walks up, surveys the field like the quarterback that he is of this New South Wales offense. Ryan underneath, finds a Mutil, give go to Keys. Outside in forehand to Ryan, over the top, finds a little space in behind. Fires one down the line, but it's cut out well by Higgins. But immediately responded by Ryan, who finds Donahue just out in front of Prendergast, who can't get there. And this one looks like there'll be fireworks to the end as Ryan's wayward pass immediately returned back to him. And we see the first turnover easily intercepted by Higgins, who throws it straight back to Ryan. He says, "Oh, look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intercept your pass. You can have it back." And he doesn't make the same mistake twice. As he finds Donahue. The near side of the end zone for the goal. Back within 2, but still all the work to be done by New South Wales. The hard stuff starts now. They need 3 breaks in a row if they're to take this one away. Victoria need a single offensive hold. If I was a betting man, you'd have to say Victoria are the favourites at this point.
Victoria as well, rolling out some of their big main players, Walker, O'Loughlin, Wicks, Prendergast, Stevanov, Flavel and French.
Putting all their big-time players on the field at once for maybe the first time this game. We'll see how those big players gel together for Victoria.
Wicks picks up the disc. Dumps it to Walker. Goes to Lachlan. Puts a big one up to French.
Damien Feng again!
Again!
Lightning has struck twice, and at both times it has hit French as Damien Feng again elevates over the much taller player and comes down with the disc.
Feng, Keys, mops up the scraps. Throw a little lefty across to Noel. Noel to Mamuto. Oh, good pressure by Stevanov. Creates a drop by Feng. Are they going to shoot to the French? Feng battle. No, under to Pendergast. To Flavel. Flavel back to Prendergast. To Lachlan. Lachlan puts it into Stevanov for the winning goal. In the end to a very entertaining match.
What a match. There were fireworks from the beginning to the end. Even in that final point, some moments of brilliance and athleticism from both teams. The Victorian.
Here we see the second big block by Feng again. Just gets up.
And this time he has position, gets in front of his player, reads it maybe slightly better and comes down with the disc. And Lofnan sticking to his guns, having faith in his abilities, ends up firing a nice easy one into Stevanov, who gets open despite the bidding Feng behind him. And that gives Victoria the game. 14-11 in the end. New South Wales not quite able to close that one out. Despite their best efforts, it's been a hell of a rematch from last year's final with a similar result. But I'm sure both teams will continue to fight for the rest of this tournament. And there's plenty of great ultimate to come, so do stick around. We've got an equally exciting matchup in the women's side of the draw to follow this one. So stay tuned on the Ultimate Australia YouTube channel. I've been Max Stenstrom. Thanks for joining me. I've also been joined by Jonathan Warren White.
It's been an absolutely great game to call, and I've enjoyed it immensely.
We'll see you next time.
Alti.tv